Hey guys, what's up? My name is Mike. If you're new here, welcome to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel. If you're not familiar, I do tons of NFL coverage. I've ranked every position, the top 10 free agents available in the 2014 free agent class. The only position I haven't done is defensive tackle. I'm going to get into that here. A lot of the defensive tackles available here, a lot of 3-4, 4-3 combo guys that I think could be pretty valuable in free agency. And we start at number 10 with Jonathan Babineaux. Jonathan Babineaux played last year on the Falcons. He was, their only bright spot, in my opinion, on that defensive line. Did a good job rushing the passer, also against the run. The only knock on him here, it's not really a knock, it's nothing you can do about it. He is going to be 32 years of age when the season starts next year. But if I'm a team that runs a 4-3 and I need a contributor and a guy that's a well-rounded defensive tackle and some veteran leadership, he's definitely a guy I'd be looking into. Jonathan Babineaux in at number 10. At number 9, I have Kevin Williams. Now, Kevin Williams, 34 when the season starts next year. But, if you watch the tape on this guy this year, all right, he still shows some flashes back to the guy he was earlier in his career. I think he could still be an asset here, maybe more as a third defensive tackle or a guy whose snaps are a little bit limited. But don't sleep on Kevin Williams either. Sort of, again, in that Jonathan Babineaux mold where I still think he can be effective if his snaps are monitored. In at number 9. Number 8, I have B.J. Raji, and he'll be 28 when the season starts next year. If this list was made in 2010 or 2011, he would have been number 1 on this list far and away. His play has declined in recent years. It was reported he turned down an $8 million offer from the Packers. I mean, if that's true, I think once he sees what the market is for him this year, he's definitely going to regret that. But B.J. Raji in at number 8. And number 7, I have Tony McDaniel. He of the Seattle Seahawks. Look, he was in that rotation this year. When you really peel apart that Seattle defensive line, you had Brandon Mebane, Red Bryant, McDaniel, and Michael Bennett were really the premier run stoppers of that defense. McDaniel, pretty much a run stopper, extraordinaire, if you will. Offers very little in terms of rushing the passer, but again, a superior run stopper. In at number 7. And at number 6, I have Henry Melton. And Henry Melton was a guy who had a great 2012, obviously suffered the injury in 2013. Are the Bears able to get him at a little bit of a discount? I think, even though he had that assault arrest here earlier in the season, I think teams will still be attracted to him if he tests out healthy. And what the market is, we'll see. But Henry Melton, largely based on his really good 2012, in at number 6. And at number 5, I have Paul Soliai. This is only the first of 2 Dolphins I have on this list. And Soliai, one of those guys I mentioned before, can be effective in a 3-4 or a 4-3. When that's the case, it automatically makes you very valuable to teams that run hybrid schemes, or in general, when you can play for and be an asset to any of the 32 teams rather than teams that just play one kind of defense, it automatically ups your stock. And Soliai is a good run defender and a good pass rusher as well. From the defensive tackle spot, he comes in at 5. At 4, I have Jason Hatcher of the Cowboys. Jason Hatcher, again, the one knock against him is that he'll be 32 when the season starts next year. He was pretty good in the 3-4, but this year in the 4-3, all right, under Monty Kiffin, he was one of the few Cowboys that blossomed in that role. And I think if you're a 4-3 team, and again, you need to plug a hole at defensive tackle, he's the guy I'm looking at. I think you can get him cheaper than some of these younger guys, but I think for 2-3 years, you can get the same kind of production. Jason Hatcher at number 4. At number 3, I have Linval Joseph. Linval Joseph, last year of the Giants, maybe not the name or the household name that some of these other guys are I already mentioned, but keep in mind, Joseph is going to be 25 when the season starts next year, which is definitely a feather in his cap. He's the youngest guy on this list. Not only that, he's coming off a very good 2013 campaign, both against the run and rushing the passer. And I think a guy that could have been getting a more lucrative deal than people think, again, because he's only going to be 25 next season. He comes in at number 3. At number 2, I have Arthur Jones. Arthur Jones, primarily thought 3-4, a 3-4 end here. Arthur Jones is a stud against the run. There's really no denying that. I think he might be the best, one of, if not the best, 3-4 run defender there is in the NFL. And I think any team, that including the Ravens, that needs that 3-4 run stuffer, I think is going to be Arthur Jones will be high on their list. Only 28 when the season starts next year. A guy that can get after the quarterback enough to make it worth big money because of how good he is as a run defender. In at number 2. And in at number 1, I have Randy Starks. Randy Starks has been one of the best defensive tackles in the league now for a while. And yes, I know he's going to be 30 when the season starts next year. But for a guy who can play in either scheme, 3-4 or a 4-3, much like Soliai, he's just a stud. He's been one of the best defensive tackles in my mind for the last 4 or 5 years in the NFL. And again, does not have to be a scheme-specific guy. Is a guy who can plug in. I think someone will give him, a 3-4 year deal for big money to get him, and I think it'll be money wisely spent. And that if the Dolphins can't retain either at least one of these guys, Soliai or Starks, I think their defense is going to take a nosedive, at least in the running game, rush defense next year. Guys, let me know what you think of this list from 10 to 1, from Babineaux all the way up to Starks. Any guys on this list you think you want your team to get? Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter as well. Again, guys, plenty of draft stuff I already have up. We'll be continuing to do that. The free agent rankings are now done, so be sure to take a look at the other rankings. Let me know what you think about those as well. But again, be sure to subscribe. It's completely free. Have a great night.